The billionaire's broken vow. When love became a lie. The perfect evening. The grand ballroom sparkled like 1,000 stars had fallen from the sky. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm golden light across the crowd of elegantly dressed guests. Elena Martinez stood near the center of it all, her emerald green dress flowing like water around her feet. Her dark hair was swept up in a soft bun, a few loose curls framing her face. She smiled, but her heart raced with nervous excitement. Tonight was supposed to be special. Tonight, Adrian Blackwell, the man she had loved for 5 years, was going to announce their engagement. Elena's hand trembled slightly as she held her champagne glass. She looked across the room and saw Adrian talking with his father, Richard Blackwell, the powerful owner of Blackwell Industries. Adrian looked handsome in his tailored black suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, his blue eyes bright with confidence. He caught her gaze and winked. Her heart melted. "You look radiant, darling," a voice said beside her. Elena turned to see her best friend, Victoria Sterling, dressed in a stunning red gown. Victoria's blonde hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her smile was as bright as the diamonds around her neck. "Thank you, Vic," Elena said warmly. "I'm so nervous. What if something goes wrong?" Victoria laughed and squeezed Elena's hand. "Nothing will go wrong. Adrian adores you. Everyone can see it. This is your fairy tale moment." Elena wanted to believe that. She had met Adrian 5 years ago at an architecture conference. She was a young architect presenting her innovative designs for sustainable buildings. He was there representing his family's real estate empire. Their connection had been instant, electric. They talked for hours that night about dreams, ambitions, and the future. Adrian pursued her relentlessly. Flowers every week. Surprise dinners at rooftop restaurants. Weekend trips to the mountains. He made her feel like the most important person in the world. When he asked her to move in with him 2 years ago, she said yes without hesitation. When he told her he wanted to marry her, she cried happy tears. Now, standing in this beautiful ballroom surrounded by the city's elite, Elena felt like Cinderella at the ball. Everything was perfect. The announcement. The music softened, and Richard Blackwell stepped onto the small stage at the front of the room. He tapped his champagne glass with a fork, and the crowd quieted. "Ladies and gentlemen," Richard began, his voice commanding attention. "Thank you all for joining us tonight for this charitable event. But I have another reason for gathering you all here." Elena's heart pounded. This was it. "As many of you know," Richard continued, "my son Adrian has been instrumental in expanding Blackwell Industries over the past decade. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce a new chapter for our family and our business." Adrian walked onto the stage, his smile confident. But instead of looking at Elena, he gestured toward the side of the room. Victoria stepped forward, her red dress catching the light. Elena's smile faltered. Confusion washed over her. "I'm thrilled to announce," Richard said, his voice booming, "the engagement of my son Adrian Blackwell to Victoria Sterling, daughter of James Sterling, CEO of Sterling Architecture Group." The room erupted in applause. Elena's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. Everything moved in slow motion. Adrian placed a ring on Victoria's finger. Victoria smiled and kissed his cheek. Cameras flashed. People cheered. And Elena stood frozen, her world collapsing around her like a building with no foundation. The confrontation. Elena didn't remember leaving the ballroom. She didn't remember pushing through the crowd or stumbling into the cool night air. She found herself standing in the garden behind the hotel, her breath coming in short gasps, tears streaming down her face. "Elena." She turned. Adrian stood a few feet away, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. "How could you?" Elena's voice broke. "How could you do this to me?" Adrian sighed. "Elena, you need to understand. This is business." "Business?" Elena's voice rose. we've been together for 5 years. You told me you loved me. You said we would build a life together. And we could have, Adrian said calmly, too calmly. But my father arranged this merger with Sterling Architecture Group. Marrying Victoria secures the deal. It's worth $300 million, Elena. You have to understand the position I'm in. Elena stared at him, unable to comprehend what she was hearing. So I was what? A placeholder? Something to pass the time until you found someone more useful? Adrian looked away. You were never supposed to find out like this. I was going to talk to you privately, help you transition, maybe keep you on as a consultant. Keep me on? Elena laughed bitterly. Like I'm an employee you're letting go? I loved you, Adrian. I gave you everything. Elena, be realistic, Adrian said, his tone hardening. You're talented, yes. But you're not in our world. You don't come from wealth or connections. Victoria's father controls half the architecture contracts in this city. This marriage secures my family's future. And what about my future? Elena whispered. Adrian finally met her eyes, and what she saw there destroyed her. Indifference. Cold, calculated indifference. You're young, he said. You'll move on. Find someone more suitable for your level. Elena felt something inside her shatter completely. Not just her heart, but something deeper. Her sense of self, her trust, her belief in goodness. Get away from me, she said quietly. Elena. Get away from me, she screamed. Adrian hesitated, then turned and walked back toward the ballroom. Elena collapsed onto a bench, her body shaking with sobs. The aftermath. The next morning, Elena woke up in her apartment, the apartment she had shared with Adrian. Except it wasn't hers anymore. A legal notice had been slipped under the door. She had 30 days to vacate. The apartment was in Adrian's name. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from friends and colleagues who had been at the gala. Most were sympathetic. Some were curious. A few were cruel. When Elena tried to go to work at Henderson and Associates, the architecture firm where she had worked for 4 years, she was stopped at the door by security. I'm sorry, Ms. Martinez, the guard said awkwardly. You're no longer employed here. What? Why? Elena demanded. Her supervisor appeared in the lobby, avoiding her eyes. Elena, I'm sorry. Orders from above. Your contract has been terminated effective immediately. Elena's blood ran cold. This is because of Victoria, isn't it? Her father owns this firm. The supervisor said nothing, which was answer enough. Elena left the building in a daze. In less than 24 hours, she had lost everything. Her relationship. Her home. Her job. Her reputation. She spent the next week packing her belongings, crying until she had no tears left. She sold most of her furniture and possessions. She withdrew her savings, a modest amount she had carefully built over the years. Victoria called once. Elena didn't answer, but Victoria left a voicemail. Elena, I'm sorry it happened this way. But you have to understand, this is how our world works. Adrian and I don't love each other, but we understand each other. It's business. You'll be okay. You're smart and talented. You'll land on your feet. Elena deleted the message and blocked the number. On her last day in the city, Elena stood at the bus station with a single suitcase and her portfolio of architectural designs. Rain poured from the sky, soaking through her coat. She looked back at the city skyline, the tall buildings she had once dreamed of designing. A woman standing nearby noticed Elena's tears. Are you okay, dear? She asked kindly. Elena wiped her face and straightened her shoulders. Something had shifted inside her during these terrible days. The pain had crystallized into something harder, sharper. Determination. I will be, Elena said firmly. One day, I'm going to come back to this city. And when I do, everyone will remember my name. The bus arrived. Elena boarded without looking back. The journey begins. Elena traveled to a small coastal town 3 hours away. She rented a tiny studio apartment above a coffee shop. The place smelled like espresso and old wood, but it was hers. No one could take it from her. For the first month, Elena could barely function. She spent her days walking along the beach, staring at the ocean, trying to understand how her life had fallen apart so completely. At night, she lay awake, replaying every moment with Adrian, searching for signs she had missed. But slowly, something began to change. One morning, Elena opened her portfolio and looked at her designs. They were good. Actually, they were brilliant. Sustainable buildings that used solar panels, rainwater collection, green roofs, and natural cooling systems. She had poured her heart into these concepts. Adrian and Victoria and their whole corrupt world had taken everything from her. But they hadn't taken this. Her talent. Her vision. Her mind. Elena pulled out her laptop and started researching. She learned about architects who had started their own firms from nothing. She studied business models, marketing strategies, international opportunities. She reached out to old professors from architecture school, carefully explaining she was looking for new opportunities. One professor, Dr. Chen, remembered her fondly. "Elena, I always knew you had exceptional talent. I have contacts in Europe. Would you be interested in working on some sustainable housing projects in Spain?" Elena's hand shook as she typed her response. "Yes. I'm very interested." 3 months later, Elena boarded a plane to Barcelona with a contract to design affordable eco-friendly housing for a non-profit organization. The pay was modest, but it was a start. As the plane lifted off, Elena looked down at the city she was leaving behind. The city where she had been broken. The city where she had loved and lost. "This isn't goodbye," she whispered. "This is see you soon." Part 2, From Ashes to Empire. 5 years later, the return. The black sedan pulled up in front of the Grandview Hotel, the most prestigious address in the city. The driver opened the back door, and Elena Martinez stepped out onto the red carpet. She looked nothing like the broken woman who had left 5 years ago. Elena wore a tailored charcoal suit that fit her perfectly, emphasizing her confidence and poise. Her dark hair was cut in a sleek bob that framed her face. Diamond earrings sparkled at her ears, a gift she had bought herself after her first $1 million contract. Her heels clicked authoritatively on the pavement as she walked toward the entrance. Behind her, her assistant Marcus carried a leather briefcase containing the presentation that would change everything. Ms. Martinez, the hotel manager, greeted her warmly. "Welcome back to the city. Your suite is ready, and the conference room has been prepared for tomorrow's presentation." "Thank you," Elena said smoothly. "Please ensure the room has proper lighting. My presentation includes detailed architectural models." "Of course. Is there anything else you need?" Elena smiled. "No. That will be all." As she walked through the lobby toward the elevators, heads turned. People whispered. Some recognized her from business magazines. Others simply sensed her presence, the aura of success that surrounded her like perfume. 5 years had transformed Elena completely. The transformation. After leaving for Spain, Elena had thrown herself into work with single-minded determination. She started with small projects for the non-profit, designing affordable housing that incorporated sustainable technology. Her buildings were beautiful, functional, and environmentally friendly. Word spread quickly. Within a year, she was contacted by a developer in Barcelona who wanted her to design a luxury eco-resort. The project was challenging, but Elena delivered beyond expectations. The resort won international architecture awards and was featured in design magazines across Europe. Elena saved every penny, lived modestly, and reinvested her earnings into building her reputation. She attended conferences, networked relentlessly, and continued to innovate. She developed a signature style that combined cutting-edge sustainability with elegant aesthetics. 3 years after leaving her old life behind, Elena founded Martinez Design Group with offices in Barcelona, London, and Dubai. She hired the best architects, engineers, and designers. Her company specialized in sustainable luxury, buildings that were both environmentally responsible and breathtakingly beautiful. By year 5, Martinez Design Group was one of the most sought-after architecture firms in Europe. Elena had personally designed museums, corporate headquarters, and residential towers. Her net worth was estimated at $50 million. She had been featured on the covers of Forbes, Architectural Digest, and Business Insider. But Elena never forgot why she had built this empire. Every success, every contract, every award was a step toward one goal: returning home with the power to face those who had destroyed her. And now, finally, the opportunity had arrived. The Summit Tower project. The city was planning its largest development project in decades, Summit Tower, a mixed-use skyscraper that would house offices, luxury apartments, retail space, and a rooftop garden. The project was worth $500 million and would define the city's skyline for generations. 6 architecture firms had been invited to submit proposals. Martinez Design Group was one of them. Elena knew the other firms competing. Henderson and Associates, where she used to work. Sterling Architecture Group, owned by Victoria's father. And Blackwell Industries Development Division, run by Adrian himself. When Elena received the invitation to bid, she smiled. The universe had a sense of irony. She spent 3 months preparing her proposal. She visited the site personally, studied the neighborhood, interviewed local residents, and reviewed environmental impact reports. Her design was revolutionary: a vertical forest with plants integrated into the building structure, solar panels disguised as decorative elements, and a rainwater system that would irrigate the rooftop garden and surrounding parks. The building would be carbon neutral, beautiful, and a symbol of the city's commitment to the future. Elena named it Phoenix Tower. A building rising from the ashes, just like her. The presentation. The conference room was packed with city officials, investors, and representatives from the competing firms. Elena walked to the front of the room with Marcus, her assistant, who set up the large display screen. Elena scanned the audience and found him immediately. Adrian Blackwell sat in the 3rd row, looking older than she remembered. His face was still handsome, but there were lines of stress around his eyes and mouth. His suit was expensive but seemed to hang a bit loose, as if he had lost weight. When their eyes met, his face went pale. Beside him sat Victoria, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her expression carefully neutral. She looked glamorous but unhappy, like a bird in a golden cage. Elena felt nothing. No anger, no pain, no satisfaction. Just cold, professional focus. "Good morning," Elena began, her voice clear and confident. "My name is Elena Martinez, CEO of Martinez Design Group. Thank you for the opportunity to present our vision for Summit Tower." For the next hour, Elena commanded the room. She presented her design with passion and precision, explaining every detail, every innovation, every benefit. She showed 3D renderings that made the audience gasp. She presented financial projections that proved the building would be profitable while being sustainable. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. The mayor stood up. "Ms. Martinez, that was extraordinary. Your design is exactly what this city needs. Congratulations." Elena smiled graciously. "Thank you, Mayor Harris. I'm honored." As the room emptied, Elena packed her materials. She felt someone approaching and looked up. Adrian stood a few feet away, his expression a mixture of shock, regret, and something else. Admiration, perhaps. "Elena," he said softly. "I can't believe it's you. You look incredible. What you've accomplished is amazing." Elena met his gaze coolly. "Thank you, Mr. Blackwell. It's been a productive 5 years." "Elena, Adrian hesitated. "I need to talk to you." "About what happened?" I made a terrible mistake. Did you? Elena's voice was ice. Because as I recall, you made a calculated business decision. Isn't that what you called it? Adrian flinched. I was wrong. I was young and stupid and I let my father pressure me. I've regretted it every single day. How unfortunate for you, Elena said calmly, closing her briefcase. Now if you'll excuse me, I have meetings to attend. She walked past him without another word. The victory. 2 weeks later, Elena received the call. Martinez Design Group had won the Summit Tower contract. Marcus popped champagne in the hotel suite. We did it. This is the biggest project in the company's history. Elena smiled, but her mind was already moving to the next step. Winning the contract was satisfying, but it was only the beginning. She had researched Blackwell Industries extensively. The company was struggling. Adrian's father had made several bad investments before his retirement 3 years ago, leaving Adrian in charge of a sinking ship. They were deeply in debt, had lost several major contracts, and were facing potential bankruptcy. The Summit Tower project had been their last hope for a major financial recovery. Losing it to Elena was devastating. But Elena wasn't satisfied with just winning. She wanted more. Over the next 3 months, Elena quietly began purchasing Blackwell Industries assets. When the company put several properties up for sale to cover debts, Martinez Design Group bought them at fair market value. When Blackwell tried to sell their stake in a shopping mall development, Elena's investment partners acquired it. She wasn't trying to destroy them maliciously. She was simply better at business than Adrian had ever been. An unexpected visitor. One evening, Elena was working in her hotel suite when the front desk called. Ms. Martinez, there's a Victoria Blackwell here to see you. Should I send her up? Elena's jaw tightened. Give me a moment. She stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the city lights. Part of her wanted to refuse the visit. But curiosity won. Send her up, Elena said. 5 minutes later, Victoria stood in Elena's suite, looking uncomfortable. She was still beautiful, but there was a sadness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Thank you for seeing me, Victoria said quietly. I'm curious why you're here, Elena replied, not offering her a seat. Victoria took a breath. I came to apologize. For everything. For what I did to you. For Adrian. For ruining your life. You didn't ruin my life, Elena said coldly. You gave me motivation. Victoria flinched. You have every right to hate me. But I need you to know that I didn't want any of this. My father forced me to seduce Adrian. He threatened to cut me off completely if I didn't go through with the engagement. I was weak. I chose money and security over doing what was right. And how has that worked out for you? Elena asked. Tears filled Victoria's eyes. Adrian and I are miserable. We don't love each other. We barely speak. The marriage was supposed to save both our families, but instead, we're both drowning. He drinks too much. I can't sleep at night. We're trapped in this beautiful prison we built for ourselves. Elena felt a flicker of something, not quite sympathy, but recognition. Victoria was a victim too, in her own way. Why are you telling me this? Elena asked. Because you have the power to destroy us completely now, Victoria said. And maybe we deserve it. But I'm asking you, woman, to have mercy. Not for Adrian or me, but for the people who work for his company. Hundreds of employees who will lose their jobs if Blackwell Industries collapses. Elena said nothing. Victoria wiped her tears. I know you have no reason to listen to me. But I had to try. I owe you that much. She turned to leave. Victoria, Elena called. Victoria turned back. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, Elena said. I don't make decisions based on emotion anymore. I make them based on strategy. Whatever happens to Blackwell Industries will be a business decision, nothing more. Victoria nodded sadly and left. A different kind of meeting. The next day, Elena visited the construction site for Phoenix Tower. The land had been cleared, and foundation work was beginning. She walked around the perimeter with her project manager, discussing timelines and logistics. "Ms. Martinez?" Elena turned and saw a man in work clothes, a hard hat under his arm. He was tall, with kind brown eyes and a warm smile. He looked to be in his mid-30s, with sun-weathered skin that suggested he spent a lot of time outdoors. "I'm Daniel Reeves," he introduced himself. "I'm the head contractor for this project. I just wanted to introduce myself and say it's an honor to work on this building. Your design is incredible." Elena shook his hand. "Thank you, Mr. Reeves. I'm looking forward to working with you. Please, call me Daniel." He smiled. "I have to say, I've read about you. Your story is inspiring. Starting from nothing and building all this." Elena's professional mask softened slightly. "Thank you. That means a lot. Would you like me to walk you through the site plan?" Daniel asked. "I have some ideas about how we might optimize the foundation work to save time and money." For the next hour, Elena and Daniel walked the site together. He was knowledgeable, creative, and genuinely passionate about construction. Unlike so many people she dealt with, he didn't seem interested in impressing her or using her for connections. He simply loved his work. As the sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink, Daniel looked at the empty lot and smiled. "A year from now, there's going to be something beautiful here," he said. "Something that will last for generations. That's what I love about building. You're creating legacy." Elena found herself smiling, a real smile. "Yes. That's exactly it. Can I ask you something?" Daniel said, his tone more serious. "Of course. Why did you call it Phoenix Tower?" Elena was quiet for a moment. "Because phoenixes rise from ashes. They don't forget what burned them. But they use that fire to become something stronger, something that can't be destroyed." Daniel nodded slowly. "That's powerful. But phoenixes also let go of what they were before. They don't carry the ashes with them. They leave them behind." His words struck something deep inside Elena. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw genuine kindness there. No agenda. No manipulation. Just honesty. "That's wise," Elena said softly. "My grandmother used to say it," Daniel smiled. She was a smart woman. As Elena drove back to her hotel that evening, she thought about Daniel's words. She had spent 5 years building her success on the foundation of her pain. But at some point, didn't she have to let go? Didn't she have to decide who she wanted to be, not just who she was running from? The question haunted her as the city lights blurred past her window. Part 3: What the Heart Truly Wants. The Final Decision. Elena sat in her corner office at the temporary headquarters Martinez Design Group had established in the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the construction site of Phoenix Tower. Cranes moved against the morning sky like mechanical birds building a nest. On her desk sat a stack of documents. The papers represented the final move in her chess game against Blackwell Industries. If she signed them, her investment group would acquire the remaining assets of Adrian's company at bankruptcy prices. Blackwell Industries would cease to exist, absorbed into her growing empire. It was everything she had worked toward. Complete victory. Total revenge. So why couldn't she sign? Marcus knocked on the door. "Ms. Martinez? The board meeting starts in an hour. They're expecting your decision." "I know," Elena said quietly. "Give me a few more minutes." Marcus left, closing the door softly. Elena turned her chair to face the window. Phoenix Tower was taking shape, steel beams rising from the foundation like bones of a giant creature being born. Daniel and his crew worked below, tiny figures orchestrating the transformation of empty space into something meaningful. Over the past 3 months, Elena had spent increasing amounts of time at the construction site. She told herself it was because she needed to oversee the project personally. But truthfully, she looked forward to her conversations with Daniel. He was different from anyone else in her life. He didn't care about money or status or power. He cared about doing good work, treating people well, and finding joy in simple things. He packed his own lunch and ate with his crew. He knew all their names and asked about their families. He never tried to impress Elena, which somehow impressed her more than anything else. Last week, he had invited her to have coffee at the job site trailer. They sat on folding chairs, drinking from paper cups, talking about everything and nothing. At one point, he asked her a simple question. "Are you happy, Elena?" No one had asked her that in 5 years. She had been asked if she was successful, if she was satisfied with her company's growth, if she was proud of her accomplishments. But no one had asked if she was happy. "I don't know," she had answered honestly. Daniel had nodded, understanding without judgment. "My grandfather used to say that success without joy is just expensive emptiness." He was a carpenter. Never made much money. But he loved what he did, loved my grandmother, loved his life. When he died, hundreds of people came to his funeral. Not because he was important, but because he had made their lives better in small ways. "That's a beautiful legacy," Elena had said. "Yeah," Daniel had smiled. "I think about that a lot. What kind of legacy am I building? Is it just things, or is it something more?" Now, sitting in her office with the documents in front of her, Elena heard those words again. What kind of legacy was she building? The truth revealed. Elena's phone rang. It was her private investigator, a man she had hired to gather information about Blackwell Industries. "Ms. Martinez, I have the final report you requested." "Go ahead," Elena said. Adrian Blackwell's mother, Catherine Blackwell, was diagnosed with advanced cancer 8 months ago. The treatment is expensive, and Adrian has been covering the costs personally since the company insurance was reduced due to financial problems. If Blackwell Industries goes bankrupt, he won't be able to afford her care. Additionally, the company employs 372 people. Most of them have been with the company for over a decade. Many are supporting families. Elena closed her eyes. "Anything else?" "Yes. I investigated Adrian's personal finances as you asked. He sold his penthouse apartment 6 months ago and moved into a much